Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of your Midday Love Break. I'm Robyn D'Angelo. I'm going to wait for some people to hop on since we are live today, as we are every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific and 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And I just love doing these Midday Love Breaks. I've talked about this before, but I think it's important to highlight the fact that we're so busy, right? We have so many things that we're always doing and we're committed to and we're prioritizing in our lives. But how often do we make time to focus on our relationships, but not just focus on our relationships? How often do we make time to focus on growing our relationships, on evolving them, on enhancing them? So for those of you who join me live every Wednesday, I just have to commend you. It says a lot about your priorities and how important your relationship is. So I'm so happy to have you here with us today. As always, please feel free to put your comments in, questions in live. This is your opportunity to get live feedback. This is your opportunity to get your relationship questions, curiosities answered. It's your opportunity to share your challenges in a way that will help others, because we can help answer your questions. And I say we because today we have a really special guest. We have my colleague and dear friend who's also a therapist here in Orange County, California. His name is Ken Graves. He'll be on in a little bit with us, but he's going to be answering some questions that I have specifically written for him, because we're going to be addressing this topic of how do we support our partners without annoying the shit out of them or trying to fix all their problems. And this is something that I see often in relationships, not just my own, because it does happen to me. Yes, even the happy couple expert. I don't do things perfectly. I don't know anyone who does. But I think it's important to know what works, and I want to give you guys the tools to make it feel easier, make it feel more doable. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Robyn D'Angelo. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Orange County, California. I'm the founder of the Happy Couple Expert, and it's just my passion and mission to help couples really master the messiness of couplehood together so that they can create their most epic relationships that last. And I do that a number of ways, seeing, clients in my private practice, but with your midday love break every Wednesday, and just giving you the tips, tools, and strategies that I know based in science and research and my own experience, what works and what doesn't. So I'm so happy to have you guys here today joining us live. I have my dear friend Ken here. I'm going to have him pop in here, so hang in there with us. Let me see if I can get you in here with us, Ken. Okay, let's see if I can invite you. Okay. This is going to be a bummer if I can't figure this out. Because all of a sudden it's not allowing me to invite you. Oh no. Okay. I would like to go live with you, Ken. Okay, let's see. Well, let me see. I know for a fact that, let's see, if you are still here with us. Emily is my amazing, amazing VA who is helping me when I have technical difficulties. I'm going to see if she can pop in and figure out how to get, you too, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to get Ken to go live with me. I see you, and it's not letting me invite you, Ken. Let's see what we can do. I can add some really fun little, I can add some filters. Oh, this is hilarious. Of course, we're having technical difficulties on the day that I'm so excited to bring you guys this information. So I can see you. Ken, and I can't seem to invite you. Oh, okay, let's see. I don't want to block you, Ken. It's giving me the option to block you, and I definitely don't want to block you. Shoot, what a bummer. Okay, and we did practice this, people. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to take this opportunity. Thanks for validating my frustration, Ken. As you guys can tell, like, this guy's amazing already. What I want to do is I want to take this opportunity to open this up to just like some live Q&A while I can see if I can get this fixed on the back end. Ken, you're frustrated too. I'm validating your frustration. So what I want to do is I just want to open this up to live Q&A. I mean, this is your opportunity to pick my brain and get some of your questions answered. I get emails all the time from those of you in relationships, those of you newly in relationships, people that have been married for 20 plus years that are just struggling. And I have to say, being married, being in a relationship, whether it's brand new or whether it's been going on for a while, it's frustrating. There's moments where we feel completely helpless. There's moments where we know something has to change, except we don't quite know how to make that happen. Or maybe if you're listening, you're the person that you're like, you know what, I've been getting some individual support. How do I get my partner to change? Good luck with that one. But how do I get my relationship to change? That's what I usually encourage, is to kind of shift your perspective on what it is that you want and what your goals are. Because if your goal going into something is, how do I get my partner to change? What they're doing doesn't work. Probably not going to be super successful. But if you can shift your mindset to, well, what do I need to do in my relationship to enhance it? What do I need to do? What kind of conversations can I have in order to make things different and to make things better in my relationship? That's going to completely change the way that you approach not only the situation, but your partner too. So I'm going to check back in. I'm over here on my website as well, or on my computer, just kind of checking Facebook, see if we can get this going on with you guys. Because Ken, you're here. I wish you could just pop in with me right now. And I'm not quite sure why I'm not allowed to invite you. Oh, such a bummer. So we're going to have to figure out another way to do this because I really love this topic. What I might do is record a conversation with Ken. If you're down, Ken, I'm sure you are. Record a conversation of the two of us that I was going to have with you anyway. And I'll put it up here. It will kind of be like the replay, if you will, of the midday love break, because I know so many people were really excited about this topic, because so often in relationships, we get so frustrated and we get so exhausted trying to get our needs met, or trying to feel supported, or even worse, wanting to support our partners, thinking we're doing our very best, and yet it just falls flat. So Ken, if you are up for it, I say we hop off here, we record an awesome little interview, get all these questions answered, get you sharing your wisdom, spitting out the truth, no BS style, which I love, and then posting this for everyone to see, for everyone to put their comments in, and then we can answer the questions that way. What do you think? Let me know if you're down. I'm sure you are. And for those of you that maybe you didn't have an opportunity to send in your questions about this particular topic, go for it. Send them in. Ken and I might be able to, if we can get them soon enough, if you want to put them into the comments now, we'll answer those on the recorded interview. And so you'll walk away with not only the information, the tips and the tools and the strategies you need to really truly support your partner without annoying the shit out of them or fixing everything, but you also get your specific questions answered. So run, don't walk, put your comments in, and we will answer those in a recorded interview. How awesome. And then you guys will have access to this interview. Ken, we totally can be flexible. So super appreciate that. Looks like we don't have any questions that are coming in live. Totally fine. It's still pretty early, about 10 after. So I'm going to stay on here. I'm going to chat just a little bit. Ken, if you want to put in some comments, just some things that you're thinking about that when it comes to relationships, any particular challenges that maybe you hear from some of your clients that you would love to hear myself or other experts advise on and address the topics. I'd love to hear what you have to say too. I think it's important for our listeners and our watchers to know too that yes, while we are the experts, if you will, we've gotten extensive training in this. We have master's degrees in marriage and family therapy or social work, whatever the case is, extensive training beyond that. We're human first. That's what I say to all my therapist friends who come to me struggling. That's what I say to the high achieving people that walk in my office. I say we are human first. And then we are the roles that we choose to take on, whether it's parents, whether it's a wife, a husband, a CEO, right? It's whatever those roles are beyond that, but we are human first. And being human means we are imperfect and we make mistakes and we mess up. And we tend to do that more than once. Ken, you said, I want to know, what does it feel like to try and be fixed? Ooh, that's a good one. I think it's a really important question, especially coming from a man. And I so appreciate that because oftentimes it is our male counterparts who are trying to do the fixing. And we'll talk more about that, Ken, in our interview about why that is. But I can tell you from a female perspective, or just, gosh, again, going back to the human thing, before I even identify female, I'm human. So for anyone listening or watching, I would encourage you to ask yourself, what does it feel like? Ken, great question. What does it feel like to try and be fixed? The first thing that comes up for me is, well, if something has to be fixed, then what's broken? Right? It causes me to pause, actually, to kind of take a time out and go, is it I that needs to be fixed? Or is it a thought process? Is it a way of behaving? Is it a way of showing up in the relationship? And even just those words, Ken, as I'm sure you know, can be pretty triggering. Being fixed, right? That can elicit this sense of, well, I guess I'm just not enough the way I am. So just a couple things for all of our listeners and watchers to keep in mind, because Ken, that was such a great question. What does it feel like to try and be fixed? So what I'm going to do, you guys, is I'm going to cut this one short today. I'm going to hop off here. We've got some time. Ken, I'm going to contact you. We're going to do an interview. We're going to talk about this topic. We're going to get real, and we're going to give all the listeners and the watchers the information. So you guys, I'm out of here. Robyn D'Angelo, your happy couple expert. I wish you all big love. Mwah! And we will get you your information shortly. You guys have such a great rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you next week for your midday love break. Bye. Hey everyone, and welcome to the replay of your midday love break. We had some technical difficulties, but I have my dear friend and colleague Ken Graves here with me today. Hi, Ken.
Hey there. Take two.
Yes, take two. I'm so excited. For those of you guys who are really excited, looking forward to this topic, we have got some information for you. So today I wanted to invite Ken on and talk about something that I know he hears a lot in his own practice as a therapist. I hear this. Shoot, I experienced this in my own relationship. Ken, I'm sure you do too. And it's
I would be lying if I said no.
Right? And it's something that we probably all have experienced at one point or another. And it's truly like, how do we support our partners without annoying the shit out of them, or just coming off as trying to fix their problems, or better yet, fix them? So yeah. Ken, I'm so happy to have you joining me here today. Why don't you just start by sharing a little bit about you and your practice before we dive in?
Sure. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I have a private practice in Newport Beach. Um, let's see. First things first. So I'm a husband.
Mhm.
I have a dog and a cat. Some things I like to do for fun, as you mentioned in the promo, I like to play golf, even
Yep.
though I suck at it. Um, I like baseball. I like, just outdoors. And I think most of all, I never thought I would say this. 21-year-old Ken probably would be rolling his eyes. I love what I do. I never thought that was possible. I always thought that working and doing your job was, something that you have to do to survive, something that, you know, you don't get a lot of enjoyment or fun from it. But man, I love what I do. I love talking to people every day. I love just sitting down and connecting with people and developing relationships, being, honest and authentic. And oh, I love it. So that's a big part of what I am. Is I love doing what I do. The clientele that I usually like to enjoy working with are I'm a certified eating disorder specialist. So there's one of about 600 of us in the country. So I work a lot with eating disorders, substance abuse, depression, anxiety, and people that need help and want someone to connect with. That's the big part of what I do. Is whether you're 21, 18, or 100, I think there's things that we can really learn from each other. So
And it's just so apparent how passionate you are about what it is that you do. And, for those of you guys that are watching and listening, I'm sure even just from that brief intro, like you can tell he's no bullshit.
yeah,
He just really has a passion for connecting and really supporting people. So that's why I feel so honored to have you here with me today. Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Yeah. Well, on this topic of supporting our partners and doing it in a way that's not annoying them and doing it in a way that's not trying to fix it, I'm just curious, why do you think this is such a pervasive issue in relationships today, just from your
Yeah.
own standpoint?
I think, to not be too cliche about it, there's that therapeutic book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are
Mhm.
From Venus. And, I think it gets a lot of hype. But if you step back and think about it, men and women totally are so different.
Totally.
Just in the way that we think, the way that we have perceptions. Um, Even men are different and women are different. So depending on, relationships, I think the biggest part is that at the end of the day, we are selfish creatures. And
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with that. I have a saying that, and it's actually something my wife and I fight about, is that kindergarten kind of screws us up because we're taught in kindergarten that we have to be friends with everyone and we have to get along and we have to see eye to eye. And the reality is it's just not possible. And that's what makes us great as humans, is that we have such different opinions and different views.
Mhm.
One of the things and the reasons I think this is passionate about for me is it really comes down to communication, being aware of your own uncomfortable feelings and emotions, and then how do I communicate it? It's really a communication disorder. It's I have these uncomfortable feelings and emotions and I do not know how to communicate them. And so a lot of times it comes out in other ways, whether it's isolating or drinking or
Mhm.
eating or self-harm or yelling, screaming, shouting, punching the walls. Those are all things that come up, and at the end of the day, it's learning how to communicate uncomfortable feelings with someone that you love and trust.
Oh my gosh. And again, like you said, it starts at kindergarten. I mean, it starts at, the very beginning of when we start communicating, right? And it's
Absolutely.
even before we're linguistic, before we can talk and speak. So, oh, I'm so glad that you're talking about this. And while I reference the, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus book often, it is an old classic. There's a lot in there that I don't necessarily subscribe to, but the
Great.
concepts, like what you're talking about, the neuroscience behind it and our wiring, I love, love, love that you're touching on this. And it's something that I highlight often in my work because we
Yeah, yeah,
are all wired so differently. And
yeah.
you know, Ken, when it comes to really listening to our partners and being listened to,
What would you say are some of the keys to success when it comes to that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a phrase that I like to use, and it's active listening, but it's a little bit different. It's what I call mindful active listening.
Hmm.
I think most of us have probably at some point where we've been to therapy ourselves or school or even, Oprah, Dr. Phil, that whole gamut. We hear about active listening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so most of us know how to be active listeners. But there's something that stops us from doing it, and I think there's a mindfulness component. So one of the things I often talk about, it's like training a dog. Robyn, you have a dog, right?
Yes.
Did you teach your dog how to sit?
Absolutely.
So think about it again. I'm being an annoying therapist.
Uh-oh.
Did you teach it how to sit?
No.
Or was it born knowing how to sit?
Yes, I taught her how to follow my commands, but she automatically knows how to sit.
You taught her the intention behind that word sit.
Yes.
It's the same thing with our active listening. We were born knowing how to listen to people. What stops us is the intention behind it. So our mindfulness components are really helpful in being able to, one, recognize, oh shit, Ken, pay attention, your wife is hurting right now. Yeah. You need to stop trying to fix this and get into some active listening. So I think the first step is really recognizing that this is a moment to enter into some active listening skills. So really quick, I took some notes. Nonverbal. So we active listen kind of in two steps. Again, with our mindfulness of being aware or more intentional about our behaviors. The first is nonverbal. So we're looking at things like facial expressions. We're looking at what you're doing right now, nodding your head. You're actively telling me that you're on the same page. Mm-hmm. If you would look like this, or angry, or confused, you would have told me that you're a little lost. And so a lot of times our nonverbals are huge. And how easy is it throughout our day to just get stuck in whatever we're doing? We're eating dinner, we're paying bills, we're fixing the car, we're trying to find the damn remote, we're trying to figure out where everything is, and we're not really listening. Mm-hmm. And so nonverbals play a huge role in telling our partner, telling whoever it is that we're communicating, that we're really listening to them. Posture. If I'm just kind of laid back, if I'm looking at the wall, if I'm not engaged, that's really going to come across as maybe this person doesn't care. Maybe this person is so ingrained in what they're doing that they don't have a clue as to how to support me, how to make me feel loved. Yeah. And the last one I think is one that we do all the time that we're not even really aware of. It's called mirroring. And that's where we're really mimicking what the other person is looking like. Mm-hmm. So if they look sad, to be aware and to be mindful that I might have a little bit more of a concerned look. So a lot of times what happens, I find in myself, is I'm really incongruent. I'll say that I'm happy, but it doesn't look like I'm happy. Or more often than not, I can't tolerate my partner being sad or anxious. And so I'm Mr. Funny Guy, and so I'll tell you a joke, or I'll tell you something, or I'll distract you. And that comes across so invalidating and so frustrating, I'm sure. And then we also have our verbal active listening. So positive reinforcement, saying yes, showing that you agree, telling them very good, helping them to know that you understand, that you care. Remembering, this one is huge. My wife will say, "Did you not remember I told you that?" I was active listening, but maybe I was non-verbally, but verbally I was in a totally different place. Remembering helps the other person know that you're really caring and interested and invested in what they have to say. Questioning, so asking valid questions. Tell me more about that. Oh, I'm not sure I understand that. Can you help me understand this? Those are ways to help the other person know that you're invested in that conversation.
And I have to just say, as a woman, and again, this is research and my own research, hearing the words "help me understand" from my husband and tell me more. Like those two sets of 3 words.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel like, oh, like you do care. You are understanding. You want to know more. You're interested. Mm-hmm. So not only are you listening, but you actually want to know more so that we can take action to do something. So men, listen up. Those 2 phrases I'm telling you are like magic to a female brain. Tell me more and help me understand. So I just had to put that in there, Ken.
I love that. Yeah.
So, one of the goals I know when we're being heard and we're trying to be heard, I guess I should say, and when we are, listening to our partners, it's not necessarily to be agreed with, right? Or to hear you're right. But it's on this level of wanting to feel validated, right? So I'm just wondering, for people that are listening or tuning in, like what are some ways that they can start validating their partners in a way that just, again, isn't fixing and it isn't super annoying?
To me, yeah, totally. I mean, and that's how this whole concept came up, and unfortunately, I had to learn through 10 years of screwing it up many times.
Totally.
So hopefully, I can help some people out there get it right on the first time. But I really think of the concept of validation. What is the purpose of validation? What does it serve? And for me, it really speaks to making it okay. Making whatever you're experiencing okay. Whether it's right or wrong is kind of superfluous. It doesn't matter. Someone once told me, and I use this all the time, that someone's perception is their reality. It doesn't matter if it's true. It doesn't matter if it's right. It doesn't matter if it's wrong. It's their reality. Mm-hmm. And validation really at its core is taking the opportunity to say, Robyn, it's okay. It's okay that you feel this way. I don't care if it's right. I don't care if it's wrong. Mm-hmm. It's okay to feel this way. Yeah. So I think for me, when I think of validation, less is more. I think guys tend to really talk themselves out of a situation, yes. And really what happens is they keep digging the hole deeper. Mm-hmm. And so I came up with just kind of a few phrases that might help validate a situation.
Perfect.
No wonder why. No wonder why you would feel this way. I would feel that way too. No wonder why you're frustrated that our video didn't work out. That was really frustrating. Totally. I'm frustrated too.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, get over it. Hey, it's not the end of the world. Or, hey, we'll make it better. Because that's trying to fix the problem.
Yes.
Is there anything I can do about fixing that problem? No, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
I'd imagine that you might feel this way. I'd imagine that I would feel this way if I were in that situation. Really putting yourself in that shoes, again, makes it okay. Mm-hmm. If Ken feels that way too, it's okay. We're in this together. I can see that you're frustrated. I can see that this is really disappointing. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's all you have to say. You don't have to add to it. You don't have to wrap things up in a pretty little bow and make it feel comfortable. Because really what you're only doing in that situation is making yourself feel better.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Say that one more time, because I think it's really important to highlight that.
Yeah. A lot of times when I'm trying to fix a situation, it's because I feel uncomfortable. And so my attempt to make you feel comfortable is really only making myself feel comfortable.
Love that.
And then if you want to go, and then if you want to go one step further, my partner does not think that that's helpful. Shocking.
Yeah, right.
And therefore, I'm feeling less helpful because I'm making the situation worse. And therefore, I'm making myself feel worse by trying to make the situation feel better. And I don't know that makes sense, but it totally does in my head.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. I want to get back to that, but do you have more phrases?
I'm loving that phrases. Sucks.
It's a good one.
Period.
Totally.
That sucks. I can't. That sucks. I don't know. I hate when that happens. Makes a lot of sense. And I think just that again, hitting home the fact that it's okay to feel this way. Yeah. And I think as guys, there's something really vulnerable, and I think that's why it's hard for us to do this. But to even say, I don't know how to help you. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry you feel this way. I'm sorry you feel this way about yourself, and I love you.
You know what? I love that you pointed that out too, because as you were saying the phrases, I was in my head, I was hearing, babe, I'm so sorry, period. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just to hear the, like, man, I'm so sorry that this is hard right now.
Yeah.
And so I just appreciate you bringing that up too, which is like, there's not a whole lot I can offer right now other than, let's say this sucks together.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's so more than enough.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know, and again, for the person listening who's going, but Robyn, Ken, I can see a clear path to what would remove my partner's stress, anxiety, sadness, anger, you name it. What am I supposed to do when I have the answer? I know how to fix it.
Yeah.
What do I do with all my stuff in
Yeah.
you know, coming up that I want to fix it?
I have a couple options. One is just to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Tell yourself that it's okay. Tell yourself that this isn't your fault. Maybe it is. I don't know. But maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. This is okay. We're going to get through this. Ask yourself, why am I having a desire to fix this? And more often than not, it probably has to do with yourself more than the other person. I think you'll like this one. Acknowledge your cavemanness.
Ooh, say more about
So
that.
I
love
have
it.
this theory that kind of ingrained in the nature of man is this idea of caretaker, right? Being a caveman, you know, you had all of these responsibilities, and it was taking care of your loved ones, bringing in the food, bringing in the fire, making the fire. You were the sole responsibility for safety, care, and comfort. And so really acknowledge that your desire in that moment is really kind of been bred in you for hundreds of millions of years of wanting to care in that situation. However, what we're doing to care is not very helpful. And so caring, we need to really learn to tweak how we care in that situation.
That makes me think of the concept that I've heard before about the 3 Ps, and that men operate from this place of the 3 Ps from a primal level, right? Which is in their minds, everything they do, say, think, and do say think, they come from one of 3 places of, it's my job to protect, provide, and procreate. And so if any one of those things is threatened, all of a sudden, the male ego, the male mind, the male sense of self is like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah.
What do I do with this? So I love the tools and techniques that you're giving us today.
And the last one is really about companionship. And I think guys tend to get really stuck in whether it's those 3 Ps or getting stuck in, you know, I can do this myself, but really having a companion outside of that relationship that you can go to and talk about and have that bigger picture. So whether that's a close friend, a confidant, a therapist, you know, pastor or religious leader, somebody that you can go to and have those moments where you can have that self-care. Because again, I think it all feeds back to, if I'm this anchor, I have to make sure that my anchor is strong. And the way that I do that is by, you know, taking care of myself. And then in that moment, I really can be that anchor for my partner who's struggling. And really comes down to me feeling really helpless, that there's nothing I can do about it. And not only that, but there's nothing that needs to be done in that situation. That's exactly why you are there. And that's exactly how I can show my partner that I love them, is by being that anchor.
And that goes, in my mind, to the idea of we are human beings and not human doings.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, sometimes just being there for your partner, just being, and there's nothing for you to do, is more help than anything doing would actually achieve. So I appreciate you touching on that point.
I have an analogy that I like to use is, let's say you come home and there's a grease fire on the stove. Did you cause that fire? No. But I can either do 2 things. I can try and put it out with water, which is the exact worst thing that you would want to do.
Right.
Or you could remove it from the heat, or you could stuff it out, or you could put, I think, baking soda on there.
Yeah.
I don't cook food,
Get a base on there. Yeah.
right. But that, I think, is really common. I'll come home and my wife is experiencing some intense emotions, almost like a grease fire. Yeah. I didn't cause that fire, but I could sure as hell make that fire a hell of a lot worse.
Yes.
You know, by trying to fix it, by trying to take care of it, by trying to soothe it. It's really like putting water on it. It's just going to keep exploding. I need to find a way to soothe and be okay. And then, that fire is going to go out.
Oh my gosh, what a great image. That is forever going to be in my brain. I'm totally sharing that. Thank you for that, because it's so true. We have the power as partners and companions. We have the power to contribute to what it is our partners are experiencing, either in a positive way or in a way that is not so helpful. So thank you for that. And, go ahead.
Nothing. Go ahead.
Nothing. I just, I love how concise you have been with this, and that you have given all of our listeners, myself included. I love learning from my colleagues and fellow experts on ways that we can really truly support our partners without fixing, without annoying the shit out of them, without making things worse. This literally was like how to support your partner without making things worse. And I think that's what so many of us in relationship are constantly finding ourselves asking ourselves, like, how in the world, what am I supposed to do? So Ken, thank you for these tools. They are super helpful and really easy when it comes down to it. Yeah. So I want to thank you for that. And I also want to ask, if someone wants to find out more information about you, where can they contact you from? Where can they learn more about your services?
So I'm a pretty simple guy. I have kind of three options. One is, feel free to take a look on my website. So it's www.kengravestherapy.com. I also have a Facebook page, Ken Graves LMFT. And lastly, probably most important, is all of my patients have my cell phone number. And I think a lot of therapy happens outside of the session. Plus, I like people to think about me throughout the week. And so it means that our work is really being fulfilled. So they can contact me on my cell phone at 714-397-2562. What
generous offerings. Thank you so much, Ken. I can't tell you how helpful this has been personally and professionally. And I know for our listeners and our watchers, this is really going to create ripples and create impacts in their relationship. So I just appreciate you, non-BS, just telling it how it is, and together kind of collaborating and helping people create the epic relationships that they love and desire. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad this was able to work out.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you guys, same as usual, tune in every Wednesday for your midday love break. It's at 12 o'clock Pacific time, 3 o'clock if you're on the East Coast. Hopefully we will get this all figured out to where I can have more experts on live and you guys are asking your questions. In the meantime, put your questions in the comments below, and Ken and I both will keep an eye out and we will respond accordingly. Reach out to Ken if you guys are in the area, or if you have questions and want to find out other ways to work with him, please do. And again, Ken, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. Have a great day.
All right. Bye.
See ya.